Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Haley and you're watching Between the Pages. My second book review for you today is Goddess in the Machine by Lora Beth Johnson. This is another one that I went into not knowing if I was going to like because it's sci-fi, and I'm a very light sci-fi girly. I really prefer fantasy over sci-fi, but I actually really like this one. So this story is about a girl who is supposed to be in like cryostasis, like frozen, and she's been put on this spaceship that's taking them away from Earth to another planet. She wakes up like 1,000 years later. Everyone she knows is gone, and they keep calling her Goddess. So we'll just get into it. So Andra is the main character, and Gov, I forget what his actual name is, but they call him the Gov. He's kind of like the president, governor, or whatever of this new country, land, or whatever. But when she meets him for the first time, he's like sitting across the throne with like his legs thrown over the side, and I was like, this character reminds me a lot of Aegon from House of the Dragon, because when I was reading this, I was also watching House of the Dragon. Like House of the Dragon season 2 was starting to air and everything, and I was like, oh, this character seems familiar. And then this palace also has like hidden passages and tunnels. And I was like, oh, like Maegor's Holdfast. Okay, I'm into this. I like this because I do like that in House of the Dragon, how they use the hidden passages and stuff like that. And then I have to read you this quote because I like screenshotted it and I love it. It says, "You are not escorted. You enter unaccompanied because you are a goddess and will lean on no one." So that's like Zaid talking to Andra about, he's like escorting her into like a ball or something like that. And I was like, this is giving serious, like, you are a wolf and cannot and will not be caged vibes from Court of Thorns and Roses. And then there's this one part where he's like, oh my god, stop talking. So he kisses her to shut up, and she thinks, oh, he kissed me because he loves me or he has feelings for me. And he's like, no, I did it to shut you up. Like, you need to stop talking. Like, these walls have ears and you can't just say things like that without it getting back to like the Gov and everything. So I was like, I really like that. I was like squealing, kicking my feet, squealing. I loved that. And so Zaid is like put in charge of Andra. He's actually like one of the princes, and he's put in charge of Andra, and he's like her guard, her bodyguard basically. And I was like, oh, this is giving like one of my favorite tropes where it's like the guard falls in love with his charge, like he has to protect her and he also falls in love with her. And I was like, oh, I love this. I am living for it. And then he also is like, okay, I know all about the goddesses. Like, I've been trained like since I was a child to like assist the goddesses, so I'm gonna give you goddess lessons. And it was giving me serious Anastasia vibes, like when Anastasia or Dimitri and Vlad are like giving her princess lessons and like teaching her everything she needs to know, because there's a point where he like has to teach her how to ballroom dance, and I was like, this is giving like I shouldn't have let them dance vibes from Anastasia, which is like one of my favorite animated like children's movies. So I love that. And then there's a little reveal where it's revealed that Andra never left Earth in the first place, and I was like, oh, this is getting really interesting, because like I know that's like a trope that's used in sci-fi where it's like, oh, well, we were supposed to leave and we're actually still here, we never left in the first place. So I was like, oh, I kind of should have seen that coming, but I was just, enjoying the ride, so I didn't see that coming. And then this book also has like really good conversations about AI and like what can happen with AI if it's like left unchecked. So I really liked the conversations it had with that, because we're in the age of AI really becoming a thing now. So I was like, oh, I like these conversations that are being had about AI and like the dangers of AI and like what could happen if left unchecked. And then I also love there's like a subject of the evolution of languages, because she speaks like our English, And so when she wakes up like 1,000 years later, they're using words that don't have the same meaning as like what we use them. And so I thought that was really interesting because like language does evolve. Because if you look at like the slang from like the 90s to the 2000s, 2010s to the language that people on social media are using now, like the teenagers and stuff like that. So it's like I really like that, and I'm also like a literature and English nerd, so I really liked that conversation about how language does evolve, and maybe like 50 years from now the words we're using will have completely different meanings. So I really loved that, and I think it actually mentioned in her author letter that this was like a love letter to language and everything. So I really liked that. I was like, oh, it does take a little bit to get used to, but like as it got further and further along, like especially when you're in Zaid's point of view, like it's written like in his voice, like so he's using words that he would be using verbally. So I thought that was really interesting. I mean, by the point I got to the end, I was like translating in my head, be like, okay, he says this, but he really means this in like me and Andrew's language. So again, if you start reading this, it's going to take about 50 pages to get used to the voice of Zaid and the writing style, especially in his chapters and everything, but you will get used to it after a while. So don't lose hope if you like get 25 pages in and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Stick it out until at least like page 50, 75, around that mark, because I trust me, you'll get used to it. And there's that one point that Andrea was like, I'm a fucking goddess. And I was like, yes, you are. I love you so much. I cannot wait to get the sequel. I don't know when I'm going to get to the sequel, but I promise it will not be like 5 years from now. I just don't have time currently to read the sequel. But there was a little slight twist at the end where like they end up killing the gov, or like killing, like she like basically like stuns him and puts him into cryostasis and then brings him back. But Zaid has now taken on the guise of his brother and has like taken the crown for himself, which is actually like some type of like weird implant with like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's kind of one of those like you just have to read the book to understand it. Because I'm not gonna be able to explain it very well, because again, not a sci-fi girly. But yeah, he ends up taking the crown for himself, and I was like, yeah, I kind of can see that. Like I kind of knew he wanted the crown for himself, because like he's actually like the legitimate heir anyway. Like if we're going through like birth order, like he's technically a bastard, but like in terms of like House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, like born out of wedlock with a mistress. So, but I'm like, yeah, but he was, yeah, but I still feel like Zaid is like the more better ruler than his brother. So we'll see how that comes out. And then another one that got revealed at like the last minute was that Andra's actually AI. So she was never human in the first place. Like she was an AI who was created to think she was human, and then she was raised with humans, so she thinks she's human. And I was like, whoa. Like again, I love the conversations this has about AI and like, is it right to do that to an AI, to like implant it into a human body and make it think it's human and like put it around humans so it thinks it's human but it's actually AI. So I love the conversations around that. It's just interesting to me. And I was like, I wasn't angry, I was just shocked. I was like, what? Like, excuse me? Like, huh? And so it kind of like left off with like a lot of questions, because she ends up finding out that like no one ever left Earth, and like she woke up and everyone else is still in like cryostasis and they never left Earth in the first place. And I was like, okay, I'm intrigued, but it brought up a lot of questions. For example, why did the colonists not leave Earth? Were they unable to get the Ark to work, which was the spaceship that was supposed to take them to the stars? Why would they not tell anybody that they weren't going to actually leave Earth? And like, why would the bot at at the beginning of the books think everyone's dead if they're not? Like, they're not dead. Because she asked, like, where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where's my brother and sister? Like, are they alive? And the bot was like, everyone on the ark is dead, but they're not dead. They never left Earth in the first place. And so I was like, okay, is this like some wider, like big corporation, like shady people behind the scenes and everything? Is it something like that? Like the corporation is corrupt and they never intended on sending them to the stars in the first place. So again, I have a lot of questions from the end of this book, which is good. Like, it intrigues me enough to pick up the sequel. I'm really curious to see where this series goes. I think it's just a duology, but frankly, I would take more in this universe because again, I'm not a big sci-fi girly, but like for some reason, the sci-fi that Alcrate sends like really hits for me, except for Cryer's War. I mean, I don't know, I didn't care that much for Cryer's War, but like, oh, what is it? Heart of Iron and Soul of Stars by Ashley Poston. I freaking love those. I think about that book like all the time. Like, it won't leave my brain. Like, I just love that duology so much. And I don't know if it's because I read it at the right time or if it was just very intriguing for me, but I do. I really love the duology by Ashley Poston. So maybe I'll like this duology. Maybe I'll like the sequel. Maybe I'll be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to picking up sci-fis. Who knows? I could maybe enter my sci-fi girly era. Who knows? So that was my rambly review for Goddess in the Machine by Lora Beth Johnson, and I will see you guys later. Bye!